Listen, I'll say it right now, and I'll say it to everybody out there. Star Wars sucks. All right. It's trash. It's for little kids and people with no imagination. That's exactly what it is. All right.
Oh,
You heard
oh.
it here first.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata Podcast. This is your host, Andrea Pranzatelli. This is episode number 121 on the Pranzata Podcast on YouTube. We have a new guest today. This is Mario Pisano. I guess this is going to be a lot of Guinea energy today because it's Andrea Pranzatelli and Mario Pisano. I don't think you could get any more Guinea than that. So to introduce Mario, he is a New York City-based stand-up comedian. He is also a podcaster as well, like me, and he has a podcast called The Comedy Chow Pod. He also co-hosts. He's a co-producer of a show in New York City as well, a monthly comedy show. So I have some questions prepared for him today. Before we get into it, if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It is my mission to grow this channel this year, and your support would be incredibly helpful. Okay, so my first question for you, I asked you a little background information on who you are as a person. Obviously, you're a stand-up comedian, but I also like to kind of get into some other stuff as well. So you said you are a huge film fan and you happen to be a huge Star Wars fan as well. Is that correct?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I just started getting into film really the past year. Long story short, I basically was like frozen in a time capsule and missed all the movies ever. And I'm starting to see them all now. So I saw The Matrix, even TV shows. I saw Seinfeld for the first time now. I saw South Park for the first time now, and I'm 35. I have not yet gotten into Star Wars. So convince me, as someone who is just getting into film and I have not seen anything Star Wars, why should I see Star Wars?
Yeah. Actually, first, I want to alert the authorities of the cult that you were in for the last 35 years. Why didn't they let you out and let you watch TV? That's
Um,
insane.
It's funny. The no, nobody stopped me. That's just like more a metaphor I say to kind of explain to people. Like they're like, why haven't you seen anything? Funny enough, my dad owned a TV shop, so I really have no excuse. Um,
What?
I
Like
was
old school, like TV repair shop?
Yeah, my father owned a television repair shop, so there's really no reason. I mean, it was more myself. Nobody was stopping me from seeing movies. I was a very uh, introverted kid, and I kind of like I didn't really I listened to a lot of music. That was the thing I did a lot by myself, but I was always kind of like by myself, just like thinking and listening to music all the time. So I don't know, I never watched a lot of movies when I was younger because I couldn't focus on them. Like I had serious focus issues. I would like stop and like think about something and just turn it off. So it wasn't really until like last year, and I'm going to be 36 in a few weeks. I would say age end of 34, 35, I started really getting into things. And I'm like, wow, what did I miss? Like the Matrix was like life changing. Like, I mean, I'm like, wow, there's just so much to catch up on, and Star Wars is probably one of them. So tell me, why should I see Star Wars? What am I missing? What's so important about it?
I mean, it's like any classic story. It has all the best elements, right? It's got like fighting, it's got incest, it's got a few other things that I think are pretty cool, you know.
Yeah,
It's a space opera. That's really
yeah,
that's what it's classified. It's a space opera. So it's just kind of like a cool bad guys versus good guys. And it's just
yeah.
like a classic story. That's what's good about it. You know, you don't have to think too much. You know, you don't have to worry about anything else. At least for the first six films. That's what I recommend everybody. Watch the first six. Everything else after that really kind of doesn't matter. But definitely the first six are like the core of what like George Lucas kind of made. And it's just fun. You know what I mean? It's just cool to kind of like it's like escapism, you know?
It which one is technically the first one? Which title is technically the first one? Like
That would
where should I
be
begin?
all right. If you're gonna start, you have to start with A New Hope. That's the one that came out. I think it was with 19 like 77 or something like that,
Yeah.
or probably earlier. I'm sorry if anybody's a Star Wars fan is gonna kill me, but that's like the original one that George Lucas came up with, and then it was 4, 5, 6. So it's New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, then Return of the Jedi. And then later on in the 90s and 2000s, that's where he started to release episode 1, 2, and 3, which are technically prequels.
Yeah.
So you could start like that and then work your way backwards, or you could just start from number one because they all chronologically make sense.
Yeah.
God, I feel so nerdy talking to a girl about this. All right. This is like so weird.
I
Uh,
do I do know this though. My birthday, May 25th, there's something special about that in relationship to Star Wars. I don't know if that's when the first Star Wars was released, but I know May 25th has the real Star Wars nerds will know it. I don't know what it is, but my birthday, May 25th, has some significance with Star Wars. So
Yeah, there might have been like a movie release. I'm assuming might be Empire Strikes Back. That sounds kind of
yeah,
about right.
yeah.
But I know definitely May 4th is like May the 4th be with
That's
you.
that I do know. Yeah, that's why I'm like, all right, the whole world is on the same page with this, and I don't know what's going on. I probably just to be a part of culture, I should probably know what's going on a little bit, you know?
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Actually, I just came back from a trip. I was in Italy, and I took a train to Pisa, and I was in Pisa on May 4th, and there was actually like a caravan of characters. Like everybody was
Oh,
dressed up as Star Wars, and they were all walking down the street, and I was like, wow, so you guys aren't the only losers. That's cool. This is nice. Like even in Italy, these guys,
yeah,
are
Gaza,
incels.
you know,
That's nice.
everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
okay, so my next question for you. You said you have a 10-year-old son.
Yeah.
I don't I don't have any kids, but everybody I know who does have kids says it's changed them in some kind of profound way. How has having kids, you just have one child, I'm assuming?
Yeah, just one. Yeah, yeah.
How has having
That I
one
know of,
kid,
but yeah.
how has having one kid changed your life?
Wow, that's a really good question, man. You want me to tear up on here? Is that what you want? I'm supposed to be funny. I'm a comic, and I'm over here spilling my guts. No, you know what? It made me see people differently. You know, the way I look at people now, it's like, you know, it's like we all start off as little kids, and it's like doesn't matter how old you get, you still have little kid tendencies. So
Yeah.
now when I see an older person and they're being like a shithead, I'm like, wow, that used to be a baby. Like that used to be a little kid. And I'm like, you just haven't given up whatever happened to you when you were a little kid. So I have a little bit more patience with people. I think that's what it is. When I was, before having my kid, I had no patience for anybody's bullshit.
Yeah.
Now I just have a little bit more, just a little bit.
I probably could use some of that because I feel like that's something I'm currently struggling with as well is resenting people and having that same kind of impatience for people when yeah, when people are acting up, I'm like and I
Yeah.
think it would be helpful for me to adapt some of those viewpoints as well.
Oh yeah, that never goes away. I still hate tons of people, but what I'm saying is you're a little bit more patient in the moment. That's basically what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. Yeah,
That may
people still suck, and you remember that.
or you could put it this way, you still hate the people, but you might be less reactive, if that makes sense. Like you might be less inclined to like enrage. You might be able to suppress that, or maybe not. Maybe you still are
Oh, I
enraged.
internalize it. I'm gonna die of a heart attack because I just internalize it. I bottle it up. I'm like every
Yeah.
man, it's like, but no, it's like literally in the moment. In the moment, you just take a breath. That's really the difference. You take a breath, but other than that, you still, yeah, people can stink, dude.
All right. Okay. So I have a couple questions for you about stand-up comedy.
Sure.
This fascinates me because I feel like there's all different kinds of personalities in comedy. There's some people who are just naturally they're comedians. They were born comedians. They're like Mark Norman comes to mind. I feel like he was just born telling
Sure.
jokes out of the womb. But then you get some comedians who are very introverted. So I'm curious to know about you personally. Were you kind of a joke teller, class clown type of figure your whole life, or did comedy come to you as a skill that developed later in life?
Oh, I was always looking for the joke. Always. Ever since I was a little kid, they used to call me a ham. They used to be like, "You're a little ham, Mario." Because I was
Yeah.
always just trying to be funny. I was always trying to break the tension. I hate tension. So I'm always just like, let's have fun. Let's always mess around.
Yeah.
I was always blurting stuff out in class too. Like I would wait for the perfect moment for like dead silence. And then I would say something to make, my friend next to me laugh. That's always been my thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny. When I was a little kid, maybe 8 or 9 years old, teachers used to tell me, they were like, Mario, you're either going to be a lawyer or you're going to be a comedian.
I've
Because
heard
I always had something to say.
it's funny you say that. I've actually that's not the first time I've heard those two paired together. I think it's Whitney Cummings. She talks about how being a comedian in a very strange way is like being a lawyer. You're trying to convince the audience of a terrible idea, Like you have
Yeah.
you have an idea that, and you're like, listen, everybody hear me out, and something crazy and outrageous, and then your job is to kind of convince the listeners why it's funny. And um always thought that was really interesting. So I could definitely see a relationship there, how somebody could be good at both of those things.
Yeah. You're making a case for insane thoughts that you have. That's
Yes.
really what it is. We're saying the internal thoughts that maybe some other person has, and you go, you know what? I've always thought that too. So you're playing to your people.
Do you think you ever could have been a lawyer? Is that something you could have ever in an alternate universe seen yourself doing?
You know what? I love breaking the law, so I don't know if I could ever become a lawyer because
Depending
I
on what
love.
kind of lawyer you are, that might actually be okay.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that would suck though. You have to defend that one guy that did something terrible, and you're like,
Yeah.
shit, I don't want to help this guy out. I'll help myself out. But yeah.
All right, my next question for you. So you do comedy in New York City. How is the New York City comedy scene right now? I've noticed there's been like a huge influx of comedians. Is New York, do you feel like New York City right now is oversaturated with comedians, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I haven't been doing comedy as long as a lot of other people. They've been doing it like 15 years, 20 years. So I can't speak too much to the flow, but even for like the 3.5 years that I've been doing it, I have seen like a revolving door. So like, there are some people, they stick around for maybe 6 months, a month, maybe a year, and then they fall out, and then a new crop comes in, and
Yeah.
they start to take over too. Um, but I mean, New York City is definitely oversaturated. And I wouldn't call, some people are comedians, some people have mental illness. I think some also need a therapist, so that's why they're on stage. So it's
Yeah.
a hodgepodge. It's so many different people that I think are coming into the scene. But like anything, you give it enough time, they either stay or they go. So it's like, the cream always rises to the top. Um, Not saying I'm there, but you know what I mean? But like we're still, yeah, it's such a mix of people, but it's definitely saturated. But there's a lot of comedy in New York. Like if you actually are an avid, like comedy goer or whatever, you're gonna notice that there's just so many random bar shows happening. Bigger shows, obviously, Comedy Cellar, stuff like that, like the classics. But even just random bar shows, I got tons of friends that run all these different bar shows, so you could
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, about how it shouldn't really discourage people from continuing, because like you said, the cream always rises to the top. I feel the same way about podcasting right now. There are a lot of podcasts out right now, and then sometimes I feel a little discouraged by that, but same exact thing. I notice the same kind of trend with podcasting, is some people get into it, and a lot of people, if they don't, it takes a long time to really build the following. It could take, what's the classic quote? It takes 10 years to become an overnight success. I don't know if you've heard that one before.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people, I feel like the ones that aren't that serious about it, that they don't want to rise to the top, they'll be done in a year, when they're like, and I've seen that. I've seen that among some of my friends as well, that they get into it and they're like, I want to put my energy somewhere else right now. So same exact thing. Like it's a lot, but I also try not to let that discourage me, because I know that if I keep at it, something will eventually happen.
How long have you been doing your podcast for?
So this is episode 121. I want to say, for the most part, I've been pretty steady and consistent with it, with weekly podcasts. There have been like random breaks I took, but usually those were during like life crises, like breakups or moving, that type of stuff. But even then, when I would take a break, it would be like 2 weeks off. So I would say for the most part, I've been pretty consistent. I'm almost at the 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, and that's when you can start getting monetized. So I'm like,
Hell
okay,
yeah.
this is a big deadline, right? Not deadline. This is a big, what's the word I'm trying to say?
Like
Um,
milestone.
Milestone. This is like a really big milestone. So I'm really looking forward to that, because it's like, all right, we got somewhere. Now I have to get like 100,000 to like really make a career out of it. But just getting to that small milestone, I think, is a big deal.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's kind of what it is for all of us too. Like I put content out on YouTube and stuff like that, and I'm always
Yeah.
just trying to like same thing. I'm like, all right, what do I have to do differently? I think we're all just trying to like chase the algorithm. We have no idea what's going on there. So that's why we're always just trying to like, all right, what's going to work this time? What is it? Like who should I have on? If I were you, I'd put in the captions like Vin Diesel, The Rock, just put different stuff for this one. Because maybe somebody will be like, hey, that's a bald, nondescript guy. I don't know, so like, let's follow him.
No, so what I do is in the thumbnails for the full episodes, I try not to do clickbait for the full episode. I just like keep it straightforward. Like, so I'll put your name. But what I'll do is then throughout the week, I'll make clips of segments of things we talked about. And that's where I tend to get a little more clickbaity. Like I'll try to, like, if I make a segment of the Star Wars thing, it might be like, this guy said, like, I don't know. Like I'll just try to come up with a clever way to like hook people in with like some crazy statement in the thumbnail, you know?
Yeah,
So
that's fine. Listen, I'll say it right now, and I'll say it to everybody out there. Star Wars sucks. All right. It's trash. It's for little kids and people with no imagination. That's exactly what it is. All right.
I'll,
You heard
I'll,
it here first.
I'll clip that and that will bring me to my first 100,000 subscribers. But you know what? Okay,
Yeah.
if we're gonna talk about that though, the whole getting this is something I'm learning over time. You could get yourself in a trap by doing some clickbait thing and then getting 100,000 views on that video because now everybody who comes to your channel is going to expect that to be your personality. So one time I interviewed a comedian and we were talking about sex and I made a clip and it was like a 2 minute clip that was like, what's your favorite sex position? That video got 70,000 views. It got me a bunch of new subscribers. But when I looked at the analytics of, okay, what other channels are these people following? It was like they're like following basically porn on YouTube.
Well, of
Like,
course. What do you think?
They're following like
Yeah.
yoga girls like stretching, pretending to do yoga, like weird stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, this
Yeah.
worked, but this is not a good long-term strategy because now everybody's gonna expect me to put out like comedy porn or something. Like, you know what I mean? So it wasn't a good thing. You know?
Yeah. Those guys aren't like good members of society. You know what I'm trying to say? Those guys are in a basement somewhere, like they're just hoping a tit comes out of nowhere. They're like,
That
please,
and
please let titties happen.
that's the ironic thing is that the video wasn't even that interesting at all. It was probably one of the most boring clips I had. It was kind of like it was episode 69. So I was like, "Hey, it's episode 69. We might as well talk about sex here." And I was like, "What's your favorite sex position?" And he was just like, "Yeah, I kind of like missionary." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool." And that was like the clip and it got like
Yeah.
70,000 views just cuz the title said, "What's your favorite sex position?" and it had like a seductive photo of a woman on it. So it's like
Yeah.
really,
And this is why OnlyFans is so successful. You know what
yeah,
I'm trying to say?
yeah.
It's like literally, I mean, I'm about to start putting pictures of my feet. There's got to be at least 100 guys that'll pay me $20 to look at my feet.
Oh,
Like,
I'm sure feet are feet. I'm sure there's plenty of men who would like to see a man's feet. Like, I mean, there's
yeah,
anything out there.
we
Wow.
really are disgusting animals. I swear, whenever I think, I'm like, man, I think I'm a level-headed guy, and then I'm just like, nah, we're all filthy. We're all just something's wrong with us. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
What's funny though? I actually similar thing with YouTube. I actually put out a YouTube short where I did a joke about in the joke I talk about getting arrested, right? I didn't actually get arrested, but that's like kind of the joke that I didn't get arrested. It's hyperbole. But in the title I put comedian gets arrested and some guy, he just put a comment. He said, "No, you didn't." That's all he wrote. "No, you didn't." I'm like, "What?" I didn't say on stage. I didn't say like in the middle of telling jokes I'm getting arrested. I'm not Lenny Bruce. I'm not saying something like crazy that
Yeah.
I'm gonna get arrested.
So people there, they wanted to see like they wanted to see that. They wanted to see an actual comedian getting arrested, and they're like, "Oh, damn it, this is this is bait," you know?
Yeah, I feel like YouTube is I don't know what your experience is like. I feel like YouTube people do not hold back. It's like a public, it's like Yelp, but for a person. They
Yeah.
just go ahead and they'll write something, just be like, "I hate you so much." And you're like, "All right, sorry about that," you know?
The last I did the last one. I did a clip, and someone wrote, "This is cringe," like, and so, you know, you're gonna get that. But my theory on that is I want more hate on my channel because that would mean it's attracting it. Views are views. Like, so if I get hateful comments, in my opinion, that's actually like a sign of success. So I'm actually mad that I don't have more haters on here.
Yeah, like I said, Star Wars fans, get a girlfriend. All right, how about that? All right, do some push-ups, eat a hamburger, cut.
Eat a
You heard
hamburger.
it here first. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question for you. Um, okay, you wrote in your bio that you sent me that you used to work at a high-end hotel where you got to meet and interact with celebrities. My question for you is, on average, were most celebrities you met just normal, humble people, or did they have an arrogance about them?
Oh my God. So it was kind of widespread depending on who it was. Um, I think on average they're pretty cool, but listen, it's kind of like there is a slight air about them that they know who they are. They know like, hey, I'm Evander Holyfield. Like I'm this famous person. Like, so you know, and then there was some that were just straight up delusional. There was like delusional people, like some Jersey Shore people that I don't know if I'll say their name or not, but that walked around the hotel like they were God's gift to everybody in the room. Like, dude, look
Yeah.
at all the hair gel I have. Like, it was the weirdest shit that I've ever seen. And then there were some people that this one I'll give a really big shout out to is Rihanna was probably the coolest celebrity I ever met. I met her a couple times, and she was just a sweetheart. She was a sweetheart. She'd say hi to everybody, good morning. I remember one time she was going to an award show and some girl was like, well, Rihanna, you look beautiful. And she like acknowledged her and she was like, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Like she's like a very genuine person.
Yeah.
She'd probably say it was one of the coolest. One of the worst was Chris Brown. That guy sucks. That's all I got to say about that. And I think a lot of the internet would agree. But yeah, I mean, everybody was different, man. You know what I mean? Like,
So there wasn't like
I,
there wasn't like a trend like most of them are this. It was just everybody had their own individual case, you would say.
yeah, because if you were there, it's either because you were staying there because you had to go to like an award show, or you were staying there for an event. So like, they were there like dressed up to just be at the event. So they had like they were pretty cool for the most part. Like I had cool conversations with people. Like I met Mac Miller, obviously way before he passed, and that was cool. And he was a really cool dude. I mean, I don't know, celebrities, literally, they're just like us except famous, so they have more money. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you put it that way, you can even see that variation amongst people within the comedy community. You see some really down to earth comedians at open mics, but you also see some people at open mics that think they're God's gift. I mean, so I guess that attitude really it doesn't stay within the celebrity world. It could go anywhere, it could
Oh
amongst your
yeah.
job. I mean, places I've worked, I used to work in the restaurant industry. I remember, even in those systems, there were humble people and waitresses that thought they were like the greatest waitress in the whole business, so it's
Yeah.
just human nature. Yeah.
That's insane to me. Somebody that thinks they're a superstar waitress. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, you guys don't know how good I take orders.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't even write it down. That's how good I am. You know what I mean? Like,
It's funny, like going back into those memories when I was in my younger 20s, and I remember being a waitress at certain restaurants and feeling intimidated by certain people there who were, um really like authoritative, I guess you could say, egotistical. Some of the conversations, when I think back, I'm like, wow, I don't care if you're the queen of this system, because
yeah.
it was like, who knows how to wash the ketchups? Like, who knows how to wash the ketchups and like pour out the salt shakers correctly? I'm like, wow, why did I give a back then? Like, I should have just been like,
Yeah.
sure,
Feel
it's
like,
just crazy.
man, there she goes. She runs Applebee's. Isn't that special?
I
You
used to
know?
that was one of the restaurants I worked at, actually. I used to work at Applebee's when I was 19. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What's the biggest tip you ever got?
It's been a while since I've worked in the restaurant industry, so it's hard to say. If we're talking specifically from Applebee's, I can't really remember. But if we're talking about the restaurant industry as a whole, I think I received like $150 tip, but it was from a psychotic like stalker guy when I was a bartender. So I've had that before. I would say on average though, just from a normal person, happy customer, probably $80 like would be a really high tip. But yeah, 150 was from a stalker, basically.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Speaking of stalker, follow-up question. All
sure.
right. Um, as like a female server, right? How often did guys give you their phone number or ask for your phone number on average, like per week? Like, what are we talking? Like once a week, twice a week?
I would say just it doesn't even have to be in the service industry. It's just in life. I would say on I would say as a female, and I'm not claiming to
Yeah,
be like
yeah.
the hottest woman in the world or anything
No, I get it. Yeah.
because I think all women like I think you have to be at least a certain number, probably at least a four, but I would say all women between maybe even
Or
less.
less. Yeah.
Maybe less, but I would say all women between like a 4 and a 9. I mean, 10, you might not get any attention if you're a 10 because you might just be too good. But I would say like if you're between a 4 and a 9, you get approached every day. Like it's nonstop. Like it's like and I live in a city and I don't have a car, so I have to walk around to the grocery store. So it's just becomes like a normal part of life.
Yeah.
You just
I don't know. I have this theory that women on average know what it's like to be a celebrity just because of how much guys want them all the time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like it's like minimal fame. You know what I'm saying? But it's
it
like a
it is, but I'm sure it's even worse for celebrities because it's more like let me take my picture with you. I've never had a guy be like let me take my picture with you, but you just get catcalled all the time, and it can actually be intimidating depending on what time of night it is, you know. Yeah, it's but you're right. I guess it is like a little tiny little slither taste of fame, I
yeah.
guess, in a way. You don't like it. You don't, but here's the irony though. You don't like it, but if you ever have one day where you don't get it, you're like, do I look bad today? So
You're
it's
like,
like
I'm fat. I gotta fucking work out. My clothes
yeah,
suck. You
yeah.
start thinking about everything. Yeah.
Yeah, on
I
one day that you don't get, and I'm sure it's probably true for celebrities as well. It's like they probably hate all the constant attention everywhere they go, but if they ever don't get it, they're like, am I relevant? You know?
yeah, that's
Um,
hilarious.
how about what if I turn the question around? How often do you get approached by women at comedy shows?
At comedy shows, it depends how many of them are desperate. I'd probably say, you know what? Here's something that I have noticed, and this is for real. Whenever I do sets and I have any material where I talk about sex, I feel like that right away. I feel like there's at least one girl that will like come up and talk to me. But like if I just have a normal set, I don't talk about sex at all, which a lot of times I don't. Like sometimes I do because if something funny is there, but no, I'll go like yeah, I've had girls come up to me afterwards and like, so what's your Instagram, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, sure, here you go. Like I mean, not as often as probably you, I'm sure. You get like you're Italian looking like a rocker, you got it, you know what I'm saying?
I
um
One of my male comedian friends was just on the podcast a few weeks ago and I asked him a similar question and he said that if you kill it, like as a comedian, if you kill it and have a great set, you get a lot of women interested in you, but if you have a terrible set, no women are interested in you. I don't know if
oh
there's a
yeah,
yeah.
because you're a loser. If you bombed on stage, you suck. But if you
Yeah.
kill it on stage, then you're the man. So yes, say basically the same thing. Like also too, if you kill it and there's some girls that are there, then yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a good chance that they might go up and talk to you or, whatever, ask you questions, like stuff like that. But like, as a guy, I don't know. Sometimes I'm also one of those people. I have no idea if somebody likes me or not. I have
Yeah.
zero fucking clue. Like literally, you have to virtually tell me like I like you for me to be like, oh, she was flirting with me the whole time. They're like, yeah, dude. Like it's obvious. So I'm also oblivious.
Er, Now, as a man, do you find it a turnoff or unattractive if a woman directly says like, "Hey, can I get your number?" Is that like too masculine, or how do you feel about that as a man if a woman
That's
approaches you?
fucking awesome. Please go ahead. That's cool
I,
with me.
I'm like, I'm single. I've been single for like 6 months, and I'm trying to like I think I'm actually moving in 2 weeks, so I'm like, let me just do that first. But then when I'm settled into my new place, I'm like, okay, I think I should probably start like trying to meet people. And I'm like, how do I do it? Is that like I'm 35. Like the odds are anybody I go up to is probably married. I mean, or maybe not. I don't know. There's a lot of
Listen,
divorces now, so
you don't have to wait to move to meet somebody. If anything, that's even better because if the guy sucks, he doesn't know where you live. We could move
or
and you'll never know where you are.
I could get some free help, like helping me move some furniture.
Yeah. You know what? Wow, man. I have a comedian friend of mine that he has a joke that he went on a date with a girl and literally it was their first date and she told him to help her move a couch upstairs because she was moving in.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, before we go on the date, can you just help me move this couch real quick? And he's like, what are you talking about? She was like, yeah, I just moved in. Can you help me move this couch? So basically she got a free mover, which I think is that's a pretty cool move.
If you're from New York City, I think I know the comedian. I think I know
Yeah.
exactly which, unless less other comedians are doing this joke. Is he a Jewish guy?
Yes, he is.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm a musician, and I'm not going to name his name just in case I don't want to like give his joke away. I hope it's the same person, but he and his like friend co-host a bar show.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. That's them.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So they used to include music, and I used to play piano as like a warm up. They cut music out of the budget, but that's how I met him. So I know exactly who
Oh,
you're talking
nice.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are my boys, man. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
great joke.
I
It's true.
actually I had his co-host, the shorter one. I had the shorter one on my podcast before, like 2 years ago at this point. It's been a while. So
Yeah. Nice. See, it's a small world, you know?
yeah, it is a small world. Okay, so I have a couple more questions for you. My next question, you mentioned you're a general manager of a gym. Is that
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
I've always been curious about this, and you're a good person to ask. This could be a total naive perspective of somebody who has no idea what it's like to open a gym. But my thought was always, wow, that must be a great business investment, because once you buy the initial equipment, people are just paying the memberships. So you're just going to make a lot of money back. But how the cost of owning a gym, does that add up a lot, like repairing things, or is it pretty much like, no, this is a great idea for somebody to buy a gym? If you have enough money to invest in the equipment, it's just going to pay itself back, or is that not true?
Wow. This is a roller coaster of a podcast. This turned into a financial advice. Guys, NFTs are the future. I want everybody to invest in the next NFTs. They're new, they're spaghetti based. No. So I'm just the general manager. I'm not the
Yeah.
actual like owner, because if I was, trust me, like I don't know, I'd have a lot more money. But no, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a no brainer. You know what I mean? Like to open a gym, it just costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's great because, especially now, a lot of people like to work out. There's all these
Yeah.
Instagram models showing their and it's perfect. Every girl wants to have one now, so they're
Yeah.
coming in. So it's yeah. I mean, I think it's a really good business to get into if you have the money. And it's kind of recession proof, kind of. Even during the pandemic, like I've been working there for a long time now.
Yeah.
Even when we closed down and reopened, like it was like as if we never closed down. Like people just came in, they joined the gym, like
Yeah.
it's a really good business. It's actually similar to hospitality
Uh,
because yeah.
oh, sorry to interrupt, but I was going to say there's certain things that just you cannot transition a virtual, like haircuts. You can't get a virtual haircut. So I feel like
Yeah.
haircut businesses are always going to be a thing. And restaurant businesses, I don't know. That I don't know. I mean, I love going out to eat, but I've heard a lot of restaurants did not survive the pandemic. So that might be a different one. But yeah, no, gyms is one of them in there that, yeah, you can get virtual trainers, but I think more or less, I think it's one of those things that are never going to go out of business.
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of people like to work out now, stuff like that. Like so a lot of people did virtual stuff. I think we all bought like a 20-pound weight during the pandemic. And we were like, I'm going to get in so much shape in my house. And you didn't. You definitely didn't. Everybody made sourdough bread. That's what everybody did during the pandemic.
I have to say, I was never one of those pandemic people. So my business that I do to support myself is I teach piano lessons, and 2020 was my most profitable year ever, because
Nice.
all the students, so like I was jealous of all these people that were like, we missed out on making bread and like being together. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, because a lot of my clients were kids like in high school, like, or even younger, middle school, high school age, and their parents were like, take this kid, get him off my hands. And they were paying for like 2 times a week, 3 times a week piano lessons. So all of a sudden my business was busier than ever that year. And I'm grateful, but I'm also incredibly jealous of everybody that was like making bread. And I don't know what it's like. Like I want to make the bread. I want to
Yeah.
know what it's like to not work. Like I never got to experience that.
Yeah, I got to not work, which was fucking cool, dude. I recommend it for everyone. If you could make money without having to be somewhere fucking sick, I would do it. I tried doing sourdough bread. I really did. I never got past the part of just doing the starter. I don't know if you even, it's you like you basically like you feed yeast. It's a very simple process. So there's
Yeah.
yeast all around us. I know that sounds insane, but it's literally in the air. So what you do is you get yeast, you put water in it, it ferments, and then you're supposed to it's like a little colony that you're making, and it's supposed to grow, and then you're able to make bread out of it. I never did that shit. I just ended up making mold and I threw it out. So, I
Yeah,
don't know. I tried. It was weird, but yeah.
it doesn't sound like something I would be particularly interested in. So I like to cook, but I'm not much of a baker. That sounds like too much. I guess it's the guinea in me. I like to kind of just like throw things together and experiment on my own. I don't like rules. So I feel like baking is too much of a science. Like it's too much of a formula for me to get into.
Oh yeah, I saw a white girl on Instagram do it, and I was like, I'm gonna do sourdough bread now. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Inside of me is a girl wearing a sun hat. Inside of me is like a small white girl that makes me want to do
That's
very
funny.
popular things.
That's funny you say that because I feel like inside of me, I have like my alter ego in my other universe. I'm like a chef. I'm a male chef. Like I'm like I'm like one of like the top chefs, like the hot chefs in New York City with like a full sleeve. I mean, I have a full sleeve, but like a full sleeve tattoo, and like I'm on some like cooking show. Like I think I'm Asian. I'm pretty sure I'm Asian, and
You're okay.
that's my other that's my alter ego, I believe.
Nice. Yeah, just like a chef tattoo, the knife tattoo, the whole thing.
Yes. Yes, but he doesn't like to bake. Whoever he is does not like to bake. He likes to cook. He doesn't like rules, you know.
Okay. You're like the bear. You're gonna fucking
Yes.
smoke cigarettes, you're gonna roll up a pack in your sleeve.
Yes. And I'm ripped. I'm not a fat chef. I'm
Oh,
like,
dope.
yeah.
See that I like. That's cool to me. You know what I mean? Like a bad like, like you're like a diesel chef. That's pretty
Yes.
cool.
I feel like that's who I should be. I think I'm gender fluid actually. No.
But let me ask you though, right? Because you're Italian. Are you Italian or Sicilian?
Good question. I'm only half Italian. My father is 100% Italian. His family, his origin is close to Sicily. It's the hell is it? I can't remember
Was
the
it is
name.
it Napoli or whatever, like all the way south?
No, but it is Southern Italian. Calabria.
Oh, Calabria,
Calabria.
yeah,
Yeah. What about you?
So I'm Sicilian. So same thing. I'm actually half. I'm half Sicilian, half Puerto Rican.
Mhm.
And yeah, the Sicilian half, it's from Catania. I was literally just there like last week. And yes, that's where I'm from. So the question that I have for you though, because we have to always see how Italian you are. It's like little tests that we do with each other. Because I know I don't. Here's the funny thing, right? I went to Sicily. Now I grew up in New York. All Italians look like you, right? In New York and most places they look like you. In Sicily, I swear to God, everybody looks like me. It's
I
fucking
was actually just gonna say, I was like, no wonder you have dark skin, but then you said you were Puerto Rican as well. I'm like, wait, I don't know what your dark skin is then. I don't know if it's your Puerto Rican or if it's your Sicilian, but I feel like it's your Sicilian.
100%. I swear to
Yeah.
God, I've met so many people that looked exactly like me. I was like, I feel like I'm home. You know what I mean? Like,
I will say this, I don't mind the heat. As a matter of fact, I prefer the heat. And when I'm outside in the sun, I look like you fast.
yep.
So I definitely have the gene, like the dark skin gene. It's just that I'm indoors for most of the time. But most people like I was wearing a full on winter coat when it was 75 degrees and like people were outside. Yeah, people are outside like in their like dresses and t-shirts and stuff and they're like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "This is not hot to me." And they're like, "What's hot to you?" I'm like, "I don't know, 80 to me 85 feels normal." And like I don't even know what hot feels like. Like I feel
Yeah.
like for it to be hot for me, it would have to be 100 degrees. Like anything below that, I'm like, oh, this is just normal to me. And people have a hard time like believing me. They're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, no, 100%. Like I don't really experience feeling hot like ever. You
Yeah.
know.
You're walking around with a long coat like a cat lady. You're like, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this girl?
And I do have two cats, so that's relevant as well.
This is what I do. This is literally what I do. But okay. So then, gotcha. So where are you from though? Like, are you from Pennsylvania or?
No, so I'm originally from New Jersey, like central north-ish Jersey, East New Brunswick area. Do you know New Brunswick?
A little bit. Yeah. Okay. I gotcha.
I'm not from New Brunswick, but I just say that as a landmark because where I'm from is like no one would recognize it. So I feel like New Brunswick is the closest thing. But yeah, no, I'm originally born, I actually was born in New Brunswick, but I didn't live there. From that area. I've just been living in Philly for only 6 months now. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So you went from one trash place to another. Gotcha. So now let's go back to like how Italian are you, right? This is the
Okay.
segment that we're working with. How Italian are you?
Okay.
Do you make your own sauce?
I can and I have. I'm not doing it currently though.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. What's your go-to jar sauce?
Actually, this one is probably not very Italian. I have two. I go to okay, now I'm not going to sound Italian because I don't even know if I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but I think
Yeah.
I am. Cento, Cento.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that would be my go-to if I don't have a lot of money that day. My go-to is actually the Jersey one. It's called Jersey Fresh or Jersey sauce or something like that. It tastes the best to
Okay.
me. So
Okay.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's very Italian.
Okay. So we're gonna deduct points for that.
Okay.
Um, all right, cool. So you do your own sauce. Now, do you call it sauce or gravy?
Sauce.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's cool. That's good in my book. That's good in my book because gravy, that's for like turkey and
Yeah.
mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what a gravy is. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Okay, what else?
Um, Let me try to see how else Italian are you? What's your favorite mob movie? Oh wait, you said you've never seen a movie. So there
Well,
are these
no,
things called
Bronx
motion
Tale,
pictures. All right.
Bronx Tale.
That's a good one.
I've
That's
actually seen that one. So I haven't never when I was younger, there were a few movies I saw and Bronx Tale was one of them and I loved it.
Yeah, Bronx, that's a solid choice. I do like that. I do like that.
I've never
Interracial dating is in it. That's cool.
yeah.
That's a category. Uh, okay. All right. I'm trying to think. Do you consider yourself like very Italian? Like, how did you, what's the other side of you? What's the other half?
Ukrainian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you speak any Russian? I don't know.
No, I'm not. My grandmother is 100% Ukrainian, but she stopped speaking it. Her mother spoke Ukrainian, so my great grandmother. But when my grandmother was living in the United States, she was born here. She didn't. I don't think she had really a use for it. I do know my great grandmother spoke Ukrainian though, and she died speaking it. I don't think she really learned English, or if she did, it wasn't very well. I'm American. I'm not. I might look Italian. It's funny. I actually met one person. It was an Uber driver. They looked at me and they're like, "Can I guess your ethnicity?" And I was like, "Yes." They're like, "Italian Ukrainian." And I'm like, "How the did you do that?" They're like, he's like, "I could just tell." He's like, "Because you have the Italian look, but there's something, I don't know if it's like let me see if you see I have like a pointy chin. There's something about my
Yeah.
bone structure that's like kind of, I feel like Eastern Europeans are like bony, kind of like they have like a very bony look to them.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he like pointed it out.
Yeah.
He's like I could just tell. I'm like, wow, that's wild. So I think I look the part, but I wouldn't really consider myself culture. Like I'm American, you know. I feel like I'm
Just
very
like plain American.
I mean, I don't know if I like that either though, because I wouldn't like if we're talking plain American, we're talking about like people who are obese and like eat McDonald's and that type of stuff. No, I'm not that, but I wouldn't say I'm cultured. Like I'm open-minded and interested in my culture, but I don't speak the language. I speak Spanish. That I do.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
So
cool.
I can do that, but I'm not like, and I do know a lot about Italian food. I don't really know anything about Ukrainian food or the Ukraine or the war. I actually don't really know anything about the war on Ukraine and Russia either. And I like kind of stay out of it. I don't even know any like I mean this isn't my culture, but I'm also incredibly confused about the Gaza, like everything all that stuff I kind of just like I don't feel like I'm educated enough to really have an opinion on those types of things. But yeah, culturally I guess I would consider myself an American, but not in the traditional sense that I'm like a McDonald's eating, sports watching American.
So like growing up, like you weren't eating like pierogies, like or anything like that, or
I did actually. My grandmother did make pierogies. She made pierogies. She made stuffed cabbage. She had a
Oh,
special,
nice.
yeah, she had a bread called babka that we had. So yeah, I mean, there were some things.
Have you been to Veselka in New York?
No.
So Veselka is a legendary Ukrainian restaurant. And I think they used to be open 24 hours. It's the best Ukrainian food. It's the only Ukrainian food I've ever had.
Yeah.
But it's really good. That's where I learned about pierogies. And they do the
Yeah.
stuffed cabbage. They do all that, the cold soups, like the gazpacho kind of soups. Um,
I have made from scratch. It's is it borscht? It's a special I think it's borscht. It's a
Borscht, yeah.
special kind of soup made of beets, and apparently it's both common in Ukraine and Russia. And I was curious about it and I loved it. It's like a beet soup with like cabbage and stuff like that. So I have made that, you know.
Yeah, nice. You said something earlier and it reminded me of myself where you were just like, "Hey, I don't know enough about something to talk about it,"
Yeah.
which is like it's like you care and you don't care at the same time. Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way too when it comes to stuff. Like there's so many social issues that it's like I want to care, but I really don't care enough to look into it. Does that make sense?
So I actually do care. I care about these social issues, but I genuinely I'm reluctant to like pick a side because I feel
Exactly.
like these
Yeah.
issues have somehow become very politicized, and I like to keep an open mind, and I don't want to follow a particular political party's ideology about the situation. But with that being said, I might also be ignorant in saying that because there might also be some like blatant facts, and maybe one of these sides has a reason to have this strong of opinion. So I just kind of say like I just don't feel educated enough to talk about these things, you know.
Yeah. This part of the podcast is brought to you by Gaza. Gaza Strip, the best strip sandwiches you've ever had in your life. Yeah, we're trying to hit every facet in this podcast, just so you guys know. All right. Because we are intelligent people. This is what we do. What is it that's behind you? There's is that like a vintage speaker situation?
So
Like
remember
the thing above you.
I said that my father owns a television shop. It's a television and stereo shop. So my father has an obsession with collecting and restoring antique radios. So
Oh,
this
cool.
is like he'll like drive. He's like a psychopath. He has like if you go to his house, he has like a special in the attic. He's like, come follow me. And like you walk up these narrow stairs and he's got an entire room full of these antique radios and he buys them and brings them back to life. My philosophy, I feel like it's like some type of way to like restore his father who passed away because my
Whoa.
grandfather was also doing this. Like he owned the television shop and passed it on to my dad. So my like weird philosophy is he's trying to like keep the family alive or something like that. But
He's
it's
trying
like
to talk to his dead dad. He's like, if I switch this just the right way, he's like, father,
yes.
father.
No, but it's like it's a full on obsession for him. Like it's an obsessive, it's like autistic, like it's like full on. So it's like I didn't have a choice with this. There's actually a bigger piece that comes with it. It's like one of those Victrola like big
Oh, like the
things.
big giant horn thing, like the big
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I used to have it there, but I took it off because it was just way too distracting. It was just like this giant horn thing and it looked kind of strange in the videos, but that's what that is. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I grew up with a really old dad. So, growing up, all I had was like antique things around me.
Yeah.
Like I had black and white TVs in my house.
Yeah.
And this is the 90s. There was color. But my dad was just like, there's nothing wrong with the TV. That's what we're gonna have. So it was all just like old school, you know what I mean? And you're old enough to remember too. Remember when TVs came in furniture? Do you remember that? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. No, and I remember seeing those types of things from my grandfather because my grandfather originally owned, my dad's television shop. I think he was the original. Did his dad own it? I don't think his dad owned it. I think it started with my grandfather originally, but I've seen all kinds of different like stereos and TVs, but I know what you're talking about. They were like in wood basically. Yeah.
oh yeah, it's like you're basically your bookcase behind you, but there would be a TV inside of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And you had on
Totally.
top of it, on top of vases, on top of like family photos.
Yeah.
Like it was literally a part of the house,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy because now it's like you get a 50-inch TV and it's thin. I don't know. I'm a little old school. I'm around your age, so yeah. So I remember all that kind of stuff growing up. Whatever happened to your dad's shop?
I feel cruel for laughing about this right now, but it's kind of funny to me. And I think he would agree. I think he would appreciate me laughing at it. A schizophrenic man burnt it down. So
What?
I'm serious. So there was this is Bound Brook, New Jersey. You could look it up later, or anybody listening can look this up. The fire of Bound Brook, New Jersey. So there was a man living in Bound Brook, New Jersey. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure you could find it easily on the internet. He was posting all kinds of crazy things on Facebook every day, every couple minutes of the day. It wasn't even every day. It was like every several minutes. He was writing things like, I'm going to burn it down. There's bunkers under there, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And I've had mental illness in my family, so I know how the law deals with this. The law, it's very hard to take something like that seriously. They have to prove to be a threat either to themselves or a threat to others. So, I mean, they couldn't prove by those writings that it was a literal threat. Like you can technically look at something and be like, "Oh, that's just poetry." Like, you know what I mean? It has to be
Yeah.
like, it has to be very literal. It has to be like, "I'm
Yeah.
showing up at 12 o'clock and I will burn down this building." It has to be incredibly literal for them to take it seriously. So there was
Yeah.
nothing legally they could do about it. And lo and behold, it eventually he cracked and he burnt down these very large apartment buildings that were not yet finished. So they were hollow on the inside. And because of that, they were hollow on the inside. They caught fire very quickly. And basically, like the whole town burned down, not including the houses. Thank God everybody survived, but all the businesses, like on that strip, essentially burned
Wow.
down. Yeah. And my father's business included. Now, granted, this was like 2 months before 2020. So at first it was this major catastrophe. But then when 2020 hit, my dad was like, actually, I'm glad this happened because he's like, now I can go out of business and not have to like deal with everything. Like, because he had insurance of some kind. So the
Oh,
insurance kind of
nice.
paid for everything. And I believe he's still in business now, but he doesn't own like a property now. He's kind of just doing like business from home and selling TVs and stereos online, like more of like a not Facebook Marketplace, but there's another website that people buy and sell. Not PayPal. There's an there's
Like
an
eBay or
eBay. He
okay.
makes a lot of sales on eBay. He's done that for years. So I think that's what he's primarily doing now. But yeah, that's the history of that business.
Wow. Did they ever
Yeah.
catch the guy?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they caught the guy. And he was mentally ill. So it's like there was only so much there's only so much anger you could have. I mean, he was nuts. He was out of his mind. He wasn't necessarily an evil guy. He was just like a schizophrenic guy who believed that there was like government bunkers.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So,
He's like, the TVs are telling me to do it, dude. I gotta do it. The TVs told me. I know
yes.
this.
Yes. So that's what happened to my father's business, but everything turned out fine. So,
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Your dad probably wanted to high five him. He's like, thanks for the insurance money. Cha-ching. Let's go.
dude, sometimes when those things happen, they end up being a blessing in disguise. That happened to me recently when I moved to Philly. My Kia Soul was stolen, and I wasn't aware that that's a
Wait,
huge
so you
thing.
were soulless? I'm
No,
kidding. Anyway, go ahead. All right.
I
Sorry.
I wasn't aware, and I don't know if you're aware of this because you live in a city, so maybe it's more common knowledge where you live as well. But Kia Souls are often stolen because of a defect in the way they were engineered in the steering wheel lock. And apparently kids caught on, and there's a TikTok challenge called the Kia Boys. Or do you know about any of this?
I like how you haven't seen The Godfather, but yet you know TikTok challenges.
Hey,
I'm
this is
fascinated by this, but okay.
well,
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know any of this until I discovered it after my car was stolen and the police told me about it. So anyways, apparently if you own it's common knowledge in Philadelphia, if you own a Kia Soul, you need a steering wheel lock. If you don't have one, your car is getting stolen. I didn't know this. So 3 weeks to living here on Christmas, actually, they stole my Kia. The Kia boys got my Kia. And I don't even remember where I was going with this. This was had something to do. I was relating this back to something else what we were talking about. What were we just talking about a second before?
Uh, I forgot.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
There was a reason why I was bringing this up and I lost my train of thought. So now I guess I'll just like finish the story. Um the cops came to my house and they were like they're like, I called and told them that my car was stolen, and they were like, oh, before we ask anything about your car, was it a Kia? And I'm like, yes. They're like, oh yeah, that was definitely stolen. They're like, well, we'll come anyways to check the evidence, but like 99% sure your car was stolen because that's just it happens all the time around here. And I was like, I don't remember why I brought that up, but it had something to do with
Yeah.
something we were talking
That,
about.
oh, insurance money. We were talking about insurance
Oh,
money, stuff like
yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
The whole point of this. Yeah. So blessing in disguise. At first I was devastated, but that ended up being a massive blessing in disguise because I was locked into this contract financing the vehicle, and I was newly single. So my budget went from sharing a house with another person, sharing the bills with another person, being down to a single person paying all my own bills, paying all my own rent and everything. So I was like, I'm screwed. So that was taken care of, and it helped my budget so much because now that's an extra, like the financing and then the insurance I don't have to pay for. So it was like
Mhm.
this massive blessing in disguise to have my car stolen. So
Yeah, that's got to be cool. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like if you would have known about that earlier, you would have just left it in the fucking on a dock somewhere. You know what I mean?
I mean, there are insurance scams. People do things all the time. Like if they want to get out of a contract, they have like people pretend to steal their car and whatnot. That's a thing, you know?
Oh yeah, that's like people that hire hitmen to like kill their spouses, which
Yeah.
is like insane to me. If you've ever seen any of those videos, they're just like, yeah, I want them gone. You're like, yo, what?
I never saw that, but I went through a phase not too long ago where I was binge
You wanted to
watching.
kill an ex-husband? Yeah. No, I
No,
got you. No, I
I
got
was
it. Yeah.
I was binge watching YouTube videos of detectives interrogating criminals when they and it was that was like a lot of what would happen. It was like people that would fake their spouse's death, and I would watch these interrogation videos just like it was just fascinating to me seeing how long these people would lie, and the cops would know they were lying, and they would just have to say enough questions to get them to confess the truth. And I got like I should probably get into that phase again. That was fun, but it was like I was like binge watching these videos for a while. It was like super interesting, and all the different stories you heard about how people would fake that a robber came in and shot their husband or wife, and they would like have everything planned out. They would like pull things out of a drawer to look like they were trying to steal stuff, but there was always some major hole in like their plan that made it incredibly obvious that it was a setup. So it was super interesting, you know.
Oh yeah, I love all that stuff. I
Yeah.
love all that. I love Netflix documentaries about that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what's funny? You mentioned about like if I would be a lawyer or something like that. I know that I'd be a really good interrogator.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just really good at asking questions. You know what I mean? And like getting to like the
You
truth of
are.
whatever it
You
is.
are. So I have to say this. You're the first podcast guest I've ever had that asked me questions. I almost never, and I actually appreciate that because it kind of takes the stress off of me a little bit. But I've never had anybody be like, "What's that behind you? What's this? Are you Italian?" Like I've that's the first time I've ever experienced this. I've never. There's been occasional times where I would have people be like, "Hey, let me ask you one question," but I've never been interrogated. I've never
Listen,
been.
I'm going for guest of the year 2024. That's what I'm aiming for. You heard it here first. Star Wars fans, it sucks. All right. It's the worst series to ever happen. The last three films were garbage. That's all I got to say. No, I don't know. But no. I mean, yeah, I really think that I would make a really good interrogator because the thing is, I'm a sales guy at my job. So I have to
Yeah.
ask you a lot of questions to know what you want. And a lot of times I catch people kind of like lying or they're trying to like dodge a question. So I know how to
Yeah.
kind of like get to the core of what it is. Um, it's just like comedy too, man. With comedy, it really, again, like a lawyer and like a salesperson, you're really trying to sell the joke. You're trying to
And
sell like this is funny, you know?
can you read people's body language? Like, do you see cues about people's body language? Like, okay, I can tell this person's scared. I can tell this person's skeptical. I could tell like, how are you with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that too, because some things are obvious. You know what I mean? Like for instance, like you just scratched your nose. You
I
didn't
was
really
just
have you really didn't to be honest with you, you really didn't have to scratch your nose. You were just slightly uncomfortable at either just my appearance or what I'm talking about, and that's making you nervous. So it's little things like that that you pick on very, very fast. You know what I'm
it's
trying to say?
it's funny because right when you said that, I thought of it. I was like, he's gonna watch my body language, and I think I think I'm actually a very perceptive person. So I notice when people notice me. So I think there were times earlier before we even had this discussion, I was like, shit, he can read me. I could tell he could read me. I could tell. I could tell. But maybe that's a superpower because maybe the person who can read me can't tell that I could tell they can read me.
So actually,
You can
yes.
tell that I could tell?
No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, sure. I also know your social security number. No, I really, no, I could tell you're very comfortable, so I could tell you're very perceptive.
Mm.
That I could tell for sure. But I could also, you have little tells here and there when you get nervous. So, but that's like me too. There was times you were asking, there was times you were talking to me. I was like looking at my feet. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why am I looking at my feet right now? I'm on a podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm like a neurotically self-aware person. So I'll be getting nervous, but I'll also notice I'm getting nervous. I'll be like, I just scratch like I noticed I scratched my nose. I was like, damn it, I scratched my nose. I gave it away.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's damn man, there's like a book from this guy from the FBI that he actually gives like a bunch of like there's physical things that people do. The
Yeah.
classic is like doing this, like crossing your arms, stuff like that, that to know like you're closing yourself off. There's little things that are classic. And then there's other things too, just like what somebody again, this is all like profiling. Again, we're going full circle here. This is an FBI podcast now. But no, just little things that people say where they're lying or they're coming up with something. It kind of helps you out a little bit, especially for podcaster, for doing stand-up comedy. If I'm on stage talking to people, I'm able to kind of like ask them good questions that give me a good response, and I could play with that, you know?
I will say this. I had an ex-boyfriend once that always thought I was lying when I genuinely wasn't because I would forget minor details, insignificant details. And he would hear me saying stories, and then I would say the story again, and he'd be like, why did you say it differently this time? But it was always over very insignificant things. Like I'd be like, hey, when I was 9, I saw the Spice Girls live in concert. And then I would tell the story to another friend and be like, I was 8. And he'd be like, why did you say you were 9? Like, and he was like, and I'm like, because the fucking point of the story was that I saw the Spice Girls as a kid. It's totally insignificant if I was 8 or 9. And he was always on me with that. So I guess the point I'm bringing this up is that some people can think they're good. Not saying this is you, but some people can think they're good at interrogating, but they're genuine. Like, I'm just like, no, I genuinely like, I said I got the shirt from Walmart, and then the next week I said I got it from Target. I just can't remember, like,
Yeah.
because that part of the story is irrelevant, like to
Yeah.
me, maybe, so
There's nothing worse than like a jealous person that you're with or whatever. You know what I mean? Where they start calculating time frames of things, and you're like, I don't fucking know, dude. It was either
yeah,
8 months ago or 2 years ago. I can't even remember. But that
yeah.
happened, and they're like, but wait, we were together a year ago, and you're like, whoa, 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 let's not get fucking. I didn't know I was getting cross-examined over here. Like, I just wanted to talk about a restaurant I went to that was good, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, that does happen.
And then, so you said you've been single for how long now?
6 months. Actually, wait, let me do this. She's lying. She said 6 months.
You're such a
No.
fucking liar, dude. You're a dirty liar. I caught you. No, go ahead.
Okay, so my ex and I broke up in September, but we had sex in November. So I'm just gonna say November. November,
I love the honesty. Oh my
November.
God. Yeah.
So December, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah, about 6 months
And
is
was that just
last
kind of
time.
like goodbye? Was that like a goodbye session, or what was the deal with that?
If you want me to be completely honest,
Or you were just
um,
like, I need some, like,
kind of, sort of. So what happened was we were living together. Like I said earlier in the story, we were living together, and we were planning to get a bigger house together and like move in together in a bigger house. But things weren't working out. So I made the decision like really shortly before we were breaking up before we were moving into the new house together to break up and go move on my own. The last week I was he ended up moving out of that place like a month earlier than me, and I asked the landlord of that place if I could stay one extra month so I could find my own place. The last like week in that house there was an oil spill, and I didn't have a safe place to go. Like I was inhaling oil and I was like ready to faint. There like somebody was working on a car in their garage, and overnight like the entire tank of gas like spilled, and the whole house was like toxic it was horrible. It was disgusting.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not going to stay here for 1 week in this house like this. I can't even breathe. So I called him and I was like, can I please stay at your new house for 1 week until I move to my new house? And it wasn't even like I needed it. It was kind of like, we've done this before and might as well just it was kind of just like I'm not going to get to do this for a while, so I might as well just take care of it. Yeah.
That's hilarious. You were like, fine, all right, yeah.
No, it wasn't fine. It was my idea. I was the one who initiated it. But in
Well, that's cool.
my mental process, I was like, what the hell? I'm not gonna I knew I didn't want to get back together with him. I knew it wasn't a risk. It was kind of like, might as well take it while it's here, because I'm somebody who doesn't like to hook up with people when I'm single. So I'm like, this is going to be it for a while. Like, so,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I was like, might as well just take it. We've already done it for the past year and a half, so might as well do it again. And now I'm like, okay, 6 months single. It's time to figure this out, you know?
Well, yeah, 6 months is about that time. You're like, I gotta fucking talk to someone. You know what I mean? I gotta get a hug. I need someone to hug me once, you know?
Thankfully, I have my cats like give me that sense of like affection, I guess you could say. They don't have sex with me, but they give me a sense of something's there, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Remember, this is being recorded, so I wouldn't say anything that's gonna trigger the police. And then, okay, so then, all right, what was the longest relationship that you've had?
Probably 4 years.
Okay, that's solid. That's pretty good, actually.
What about you?
5.
Are you married or are you a single?
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And but the longest relationship I did have was 5 years. So and actually I'll tell you, because this is actually so I was dating a girl. She was in New York on a visa from Sweden. And I met her, I signed her up to my gym, and then we just started dating from then on. And then one day she didn't want to renew her visa and she's like, I'm going back to Sweden. She was like, bye. And then she just left.
That's how it ended?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I know. Every time I tell, it's like, it's when you're in the moment, you don't really think of it. You're just like, man, what the like, but then when you look at it, you go, yeah, she just straight up said, I'm not renewing my visa or this relationship. I'm leaving now. And she just left.
I don't know if that's traumatic, but I think it is, because it's kind of just like, it's like, was this whole relationship a lie so you can have citizenship, you know?
You know what? Definitely not, because she just said it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm leaving. I'm going back to strudel or whatever it is they eat over there in Sweden. I don't even know.
That is crazy.
Yeah. But it was 5 years, but it was pretty cool because I at least got to go to Sweden. I got to check that out. So that was cool. I got to meet. Can I tell you something? International people are so much cooler than us. Like, they really are. They're so much cooler.
That's why I was resistant to say I'm American, because you're like, oh, you're just an American. I'm like, no, I'm not that. But I'm not like super Italian or super Ukrainian either. I'm like somewhere in between those two spectrums, you know?
No, 100%. And you know what it is? It's like when you've done enough dating in New York and, or just whatever major city that you're from, you're used to whatever that pool of dating is, right? Like, I'm sure Philly is kind of similar to New York, where, it's a metropolitan city. People, it's, everything's moving fast. You don't know who's genuine, who's not, stuff like that. But with like international people, they're so like cool. Like, when you talk to them, like, they're talking to you. They're not thinking, oh, I'm talking to you, but then I have 3 other people that I'm going to also talk to. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Right. They have like a more, they probably value people more than we value people over here.
Oh my God. Yeah. We don't give a shit, dude. Like, you know what I mean? The second the phone call ends, they're like, and who was I even talking to? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a cool experience to date someone that was like, international versus like a Puerto Rican from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? Like,
huh. Now you got me thinking, like, maybe I should date somebody international, but then I don't want them to like be like, I'm going to Korea, like,
Oh yeah, there's also that.
Yeah.
There's also those where they're just like, I'm gonna leave. I'm going back to Sicily, and you're like, oh.
Or they might be like, I love you. If you love me, move to Sicily with me, like that. And then that's just like, maybe, but I don't know if I want to do that either. So.
Hell no, dog. Hell no. Which reminds me, speaking of movies, we're gonna kind of make a full circle over here. Have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon?
No.
Okay, it's worth it. It's a very, very good movie, and they actually talk about that. They talk about like technically, I guess, interracial dating and how
Yeah.
white guys would marry Native American women to then get the money from the reservation because they were getting like
Oh,
oil money. So it's kind of like a cool, like it's history. It actually happened. So it's kind of like a similar thing of like people marrying for citizenship. With them, it was like these white guys marrying Native American women for the money. So
wow. Yeah. I
kind of a
should
similar thing.
I should watch that. You'll have to message me on Instagram later so I don't forget the name because it sounds like one that I'll probably not remember the name, but definitely message me that later.
Oh, 100%. Look, it's a 3.5 hour long movie. So you get some popcorn, you get some catnip for the kiddies. You sit down, you watch it. You guys have put the litter box next to them. They're going to be there for a while. But it's definitely good. I mean, yeah, you got to get into. I got tons of recommendations for good movies for you. Is there anything that you like? What's kind of like movies you kind of lean towards? Do you like horror
I
movies?
No, I mean kind of, but I think I like psychological thrillers. I'm really interested in like philosophy and like I consider myself a deep thinker. So I like things that make me think. I really liked The Matrix. There was something recently that I think it was eligible for the awards. It was not Pretty Things, not Stranger Things, something things. It had Emma Stone in it. She was nude in it a lot. I remember that.
Oh my God. I know what you're talking about. I haven't
Things.
seen it, but I want to
God.
see it. This is why you need an extra producer that you can call and you can be like, Jacob, can you tell me what it is?
I do. That's everybody listening. Please subscribe so I could monetize this channel.
Poor things, poor
Poor
things.
things. I really
There we
like.
go.
I actually really liked that a lot. I did not like the Barbie movie. I saw that. I did not like that.
Yeah, that was kind of lame.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say more like psychological thriller stuff that makes you think, sort of thing.
Okay, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I got some good recommendations for that. There's actually even really good like horror movies that kind of make you think
Which
because there's like
ones?
uh one that really messed me up for days was Hereditary.
Never heard of that.
Listen, you want to not sleep at night, watch Hereditary. It f***ed me up for like 3 days
Well,
just
I'm
because of
not
like it's crazy. Yeah.
definitely gonna not watch that when I'm newly in my new apartment because I don't know if I want to christen my brand new apartment with like a horrifying movie that's gonna make it not easy to sleep there. So definitely will probably wait like 6 months before I watch that.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in ghosts?
Mm, I keep an open mind, but I don't think I believe in ghosts.
Okay.
I believe
Moving
in
on. All right,
I
I'm kidding.
believe
No,
I
go.
but
Yeah.
I believe in I'm a spiritual person, so I believe in spirits, I guess you could say, but I don't believe in ghosts in the traditional sense that they're like floating Caspers like in my room. Like I don't believe in ghosts in that sense, but I believe in spirits. I believe in
Yeah.
spiritual entities, but I don't know if I believe in you can see um a silhouette of a person that died walking around the house. That I don't think I believe that.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. Because every single time I almost believe in ghosts, right? Then I think to myself, like, I was just in Rome. People have been dying there for thousands of years. There
Yeah.
wasn't one Italian whispering in my ear at night, just like fucking ravioli or some shit, like
Yeah.
none of that was happening. So then I start to go like, maybe they don't exist.
Yeah. No, but I believe in spirits. Like I believe that I just don't think if a ghost or a spirit exists, I don't think it's going to be in the form that we imagine them to be in the movies. Like it's not going to be in the form of Casper, like this white floating thing. I just don't think that would be its form. But I'm not really against the idea that a consciousness of a person that died can still exist and be present with me, not in its human form.
Like it can't acknowledge what's going on. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like it can't be
Yes.
like, hey, the iPhone 16 actually sucks. The 15 was better. Like it can't like comment on
No.
popular things. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I don't believe that. No. That would be cool though.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick though, right?
Yeah.
It starts like predicting for you.
Yeah. All right. So I'm looking at the time. We've been going for a while. So I'm going to end the podcast. just because I know I could keep talking forever and I actually have to go to work soon. But
Nice.
this was an absolute pleasure. Like I said, it was very interesting to have the tables turned and for me to be like I felt like I was the guest on my own podcast. I feel special. I feel like acknowledged, you know?
See, now everybody knows a little bit more about you, right?
Yeah. Because it gets exhausting sometimes to be like constantly drilling people. So it's kind of like it let me relax a little bit. I mean, even though it was like not relaxing at the same time because I had to like answer questions, but it also took the pressure off me to like, let's keep this interesting. It's like, all right, he's doing the work, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Another
Right.
minority doing the work. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. That's just the Puerto Rican side of me talking. The Italian side, we're buddies.
Okay, so let them know. I'm going to leave a link to his Instagram below. So if anybody likes him, likes what he has to say, wants to see or hear more of him, his podcast, if you're in the New York City area, you want to see him perform live in New York City, his comedy show, whatever. I'll leave an Instagram link. Is there anything else you want to tell them about, you know, where they could find you or you?
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you're in New York or if you're from Philly, you want to drive down, just look up Mario Pisano Comedy on Instagram, Mario Pisano on YouTube. You can check out my clips there. I'm on all the socials. Just look up Mario Pisano. You'll see this bald head. And you guys definitely, you know, come check me out.
All right. That's it, guys. Pranzata Podcast, episode number 121. Have a good day, guys. Bye.